Hi, ladies. What up? What up? What up? Well, man, it's good to be here. It's good to be here. Wow, we're almost coming towards the end of this podcast, and I feel sad, kind of I'm about to miss this ladies a great deal because we spent a whole lot of time talking from day one. And today is day 16. Like, this is the 16th podcast that I am sending your way. And boy, whew, I think I have like 10 more to record and then I'm done. Wow, it's a long one, but anyways, I just want to say that it's been good hanging with you guys, and I really hope that it's also been good on your part listening to me. I know I can go on and on rambling sometimes, but I really hope that you are gaining something. I can't bear myself. That's for weak people. Many times when we think about vulnerability, we always push it to us women. Oh, we are supposed to be the vulnerable people all the time because we're emotional. And many times we see that vulnerability is a weakness. Oh, I can't be vulnerable, it makes me weak. But the truth is this: vulnerability actually makes you one of the most powerful person in the room. Actually, vulnerability is choosing not to hide your emotion or desires from others. That's just it, freely expressing your thoughts, freely expressing your feelings, freely expressing your desires and opinions. And, sometimes allowing yourself to be judged by others, like allowing yourself to be looked at funny by others. It's just like coming here and telling you guys, you know what, sometimes there are times I feel fat, there are times I feel like I'm so fat. And coming out here to say that, it means that I'm choosing to be vulnerable with you because that's the way I feel. And to share that with you, some of you may be like, well, you're fat. Well, to me, I feel fit. To me, I feel like I'm the right body size for my weight or for my height. And I'm able to carry it well. I'm able to perform my responsibilities well without slacking or actually not maximizing what I need to maximize. However, for me to open up my mouth in this kind of place to say it, it means that, okay, I've come to trust you. I've come to believe that you can actually also tell me how you feel. For example, about your weight. Certain skinny people also feel fat. So it's not a fat thing. It's just me being able to look in the face and say, this is what I'm feeling. And this is how it makes me feel. And I also have to be considerate of you in sharing because I can't just meet a stranger and begin to tell them how I feel. You have to earn the trust. You have to earn my vulnerability. You have to earn me being able to share those things with you because then certain times when we share too much too soon, we put ourselves in situations where people can reject us or even begin to mock us or see us wrongly. I mean, there are certain places where, yes, vulnerability upfront is good, but then coming out to just be vulnerable to certain people in certain uncertain places are actually very dangerous because they have the possibility of destroying the trust that you're trying to build instead of making it better. So this vulnerability thing is not just saying things about how you feel, but is actually knowing when to say it and knowing when to keep quiet about things, knowing who to say it to, and knowing who does not deserve to know that your pant is red or your bra is black. And I really hope no guy is watching this podcast right now. But yes, when you begin to have those kind of conversations, then um you begin to ask yourself certain questions and begin to tell yourself how what you have heard made you feel, how what the person's reaction makes you feel. Because for relationships, the clinical psychologist in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, forgotten how to pronounce it, Dr. Anton said, vulnerability is the glue that bonds individuals together in any sort of relationship. Without this important glue, our relationship risks being superfluous. Our relationship risks being superfluous if we refuse to allow the glue of vulnerability to hold us together. And many of us are being superficial. Many of us sometimes begin to limit ourselves to possibilities that we've projected and the pictures that we've protected to our world and all of that. And sometimes we had to go a bit deeper. We have to dig a bit deeper, and we have to permit ourselves to feel a little more differently as regards everything that's going on with us. Anyways, let's keep going. Vulnerability deepens your bond. It fosters closeness, it fosters trust and intimacy, because it tells that other person that you trust them. But then know that vulnerability is not just a one person thing. Just as you're hitting people with heavy things and you're expecting them to handle it, you're also expected to be able to receive and handle what they're throwing at you. But then have your limits, right? Learn to have your limits. Learn to have your limits. Just you need to learn that you need to have your limits. What are your limits? What are your hard limits? What are your soft limits? What are certain limits that maybe hindering you? What are the certain limits that may be stopping you? You need to be able to know what those limits are, so that you can be able to channel accordingly, respond accordingly, or react accordingly, because your feelings definitely do matter. Your feelings should not be discounted. All right. Vulnerability allows people to understand each other on a deeper level, including their insecurities and their deepest feelings, fears, and empathy is encouraged when you're being vulnerable. As if you're the person receiving that person's vulnerability, you need to learn to be empathetic. So you don't that's not when to be sarcastic. That's not when to be a wise guy. That's not when to say something funny to try, yes, if the atmosphere is hard or is very what's it what it's very tense in that moment, you can say something to ease up tension. But be careful that you're not touching on the hard things that the person talks about, or you're not turning what a person is saying into a joke. All right, into a joke. Don't turn what the person is saying into a joke. Don't try to laugh about what the person is saying without being considerate of how they are sincerely feeling about those particular things in those times. I just really hope that you're understanding what I'm saying, because as women, we tend to be the primary victims of vulnerability, and our inability to respond right can actually destroy the very things that we're trying to build in that moment. So you have to be able to look yourself in the face and say, you know what, I'm hurting, I really am hurting, I really am hurting, and I need help right now. You need to look at yourself and say, this ain't easy for me. This is killing me inside, and I'm gonna let God work on me. I'm gonna let God deal with me. I'm going to let God heal me. I'm going to let God fight for me. I'm going to let God empower me. I'm going to let God make me. I hope this is really helping somebody. And then you have to trust the person you're being vulnerable with. Like, okay, let me give you some tips actually to help you with vulnerability, because many of us we share too much too soon, or we don't even share at all. So here's what I would say to build vulnerability: start slow. Start slow, start small, share something that you don't tell a lot of people, then gauge the other person's response. Share something that a lot of people don't know about you, then gauge the other person's response. Gauge the other person's response. Just go ahead and gauge their response and see how they responded to what you said. So start slow. Are they supportive? Do they laugh, or do they dismiss your vulnerability? If they respond well, then consider sharing something bigger. So start small. Number two, be honest. Be honest. Be very honest. Try your best to be honest. And be honest but also try not to put yourself in both shoes. Put yourself in the shoes of the person that is receiving what you're hearing, and put yourself in your own shoes and how what you're saying is making you feel, right? So you're kind of thinking and being at the same time, but you need to be able to be honest. Be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Do you think that that person can handle it at the time? Do you think that that conversation should be had at the time that you're having it? Do you think that this is necessary? And how do you think that what you're saying is going to be received by the other person? Is it going to be a make it or break it kind of thing? Is it going to be a determining factor for them in that moment? All right. So you need to be able to be honest with yourself, honestly evaluate the reactions you're expecting and the reactions that the way you feel about what you're saying. And also, if your partner hurts you by their response, let them know. Let them know and try to focus on I statements when you're talking. I feel hurt that you said that to me. All right. Don't respond with the same energy that they're hitting you with. You can try and like pause and slow down and just be reflective and introspective about it and be like, you know what you said actually hit me very hard and it hurt me. I've had times when I've had to have those conversations, and I'm like, you know what, I think you meant well by trying to say what you're saying, but your manner of approach seemed a little more confrontational and a little more aggressive than maybe you intended for it to be. And I understand that maybe you're angry, but your actions are also hurting me. And it's also very important to make it clear and say, you know what, we're on the same team. We're on the same side. We're fighting for the same thing. We're not fighting against each other. And so your hurt is hurting me. Your actions is hurting me. The way you're responding to me is hurting me. So make those things clear, right? Make those things clear to them. And then for you yourself, ask open-ended questions. Ask open-ended questions, because when if somebody tells you your actions hurt me, you should ask them something like, oh, why do you feel like that? Open-ended questions. Don't ask yes or no questions. Ask open-ended questions, questions that will allow them to express themselves and also permit them to be vulnerable. Because if somebody says, well, what you said hurt me, don't get defensive and clam up. Remember, people are permitted to feel. People are permitted to react. People are permitted to think. And so you, in your own vein, can now be like, oh, I didn't mean to. I'm very sorry. You know what? When they share with you why they feel that way, don't get defensive. That's not when to start explaining yourself or explaining what you meant. Epstein says something, is that's a psychologist. Epstein says that acknowledgement goes in a long way to building trust. You can say, oh no, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for you to feel that way. Thank you for sharing that with me. I will do better to work on it so it doesn't happen next time. Don't say it and just be like, I'm saying it because I want to get out of this moment. Say it and mean it. These are certain reasons why people can trust us better. People can confide in us better. People can see us differently. People can actually decide to work with us because they can see that we're not using them, but we genuinely care about them. We care about how they feel. We care about how they react. We care about how they receive what we're putting out. We care about how they are asking yourself all of that. So be very, very cautious to ask open-ended questions, especially the moment that people tell you that you've hurt them. Begin to ask questions and apologize when they answer you. Don't get defensive. Model vulnerability is the next one. You can't force someone to be vulnerable with you, but you can model it with them. You can model it to them. You can try and share, like I said, small things, right? And then ask them or reassure them that, listen, opening up to me, I'm not going to run off. I'm not going to walk away. It may take me a while to process but I'm not going to walk away. I'm not, you understand? Let people begin to see that we care about them. Let people begin to see that we feel what they feel. We see how they see, and we understand how they understand. Do you understand? So let's begin to, let's do that to each other. Let's model that for each other. Vulnerability is so powerful. Vulnerability is so great. Vulnerability is essential to relationship, because without it, our relationship with each other will be superficial, and we will feel disconnected and resentful with each other. We will feel like we don't trust each other. But we also need to be able to give ourselves time, because opening up to each other can take time and can be a very hard thing to do. And so we have to be able to model that to each other so that we can help each other see a better outcome. All right. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to ask, or any of the other podcasts, actually, feel free to ask them. And I'll do my best to answer them within class time or before classes and all of that. I love you, ladies. By the way, have a fabulous day.